All right, here we are in another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies.
I'm awake.
You're awake. You're awake. We are on podcast episode number 322. And the name of today's podcast is How Do Creative Real Estate Rookies Easily Find Motivated Sellers to Do a Deal Competently? Ooh. Here's the description. How does a rookie get a grip or traction with creative real estate? Most folks like myself, Chant, talk to a motivated seller and you'll find the low-hanging fruit. But how do you do this? Where do you start? How do you find these motivated sellers? I can assume because you are here, you're interested in real estate profits. And if you can get one or two, then possibly scale it so you can gain a desired lifestyle you seem to can't reach any other way. And this desire is what led you to this podcast today. But it seems this desire keeps taking you down unlikely paths that end up with failed purpose or some loss. So at this point, any execution is fraught with risk, losing money, the threat of emotional loss, unwanted stress, even fear. In this podcast, we're going to give you simple and easy things to do. And towards the end, a checklist. So you can boost your morale, get confidence, and maybe a big fat check. So you can leap into your future where you dream to be with simple tools that keep reproducing like the rabbits that live in my backyard.
Jeez. I was fine up to the end.
You know, like the rabbits reproducing in my backyard?
I just gave too much of a picture in my mind.
My backyard has a neighbor, and I talk to her from my deck usually, and she is livid. She's like, she got a grandson or two. I think she's got two. I'm not sure. And they come over and she makes them chase the rabbits because she chases them into my yard because she's got a big garden out there, and she's like, they're eating all my stuff. The rabbits.
Yeah, I got them too.
Yeah. All right, cool. So let's do some housekeeping stuff. So first of all, thank you for being here. If you're listening or watching, thank you for all the support that you give Peter and I, because it is a lot. I get a lot of support tickets. We get a lot of reviews. We get a lot of good stuff. If you are on a platform that you can leave us a review, please do that, whether you're watching us or listening to us. Make sure you subscribe so when we are on the air, you'll know that we're on the air and you can jump in. If you have any questions and you want to be part of the podcast, we record at 9:30 a.m. on Thursday morning, Eastern Standard Time, which is not a good time for most people, but that's when we can do it, so we do it. So while we're live streaming or recording, you can go on to Facebook or you can go on to YouTube, and you can type your questions in. I have a big screen in front of me, and I can see all the questions, and we will answer them as long as they are pertaining to the podcast. If you want to, for some reason, chat with us some other way, you can go to WhatsApp Messenger and type in Let's Talk Real Estate, and there's a whole group there. In fact, I was noticing this morning there's like 11 messages in there this morning from yesterday I haven't answered. So WhatsApp Messenger, it's called Let's Talk Real Estate, or you can go to flippinghousesforrookies.com and hit the support button, and that communication comes directly to me. It's a private communication, so you can say whatever you want there. I do help people with some deal structuring until I run up to the line of like coaching, and then I kind of stop it. But I go pretty far with that line. So just because I have coaching clients paying me, and it's not fair that they're paying me and you're not. So, but I go pretty far on that line. I make sure I give you as much as I can. And very often I'll be like, this is the last time I'm doing it, and I'm totally like coaching. So it's very helpful for a lot of people. Lastly, there's a link in the description. Every time I do a podcast, I either create content or I have content or something that will help you with the podcast materials. So when you leave us from the podcast, if you go in the description of wherever you're watching us or listening to us, there is a link there for things that you can do after the podcast that will help you. A lot of times I have free stuff in there. Not that I put paid things in there because I don't do that anyways, but I have free stuff in there that you can do, like checklists and all kinds of different things that you can use so you can implement what you learned on this podcast. Okay. Whew. That seems to be getting longer and longer, doesn't it, Peter?
Yeah.
All right, so let's get started. So, Pete, I want to have some fun today with a little brain teaser I read about in Mike Simon's book called Level Jumping. Some creative real estate mind candy for the morning.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm up for some fun.
You're up for some fun. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine you had a car, Peter, and needed to steer it. The catch in the car is it's parked and it's not turned on. And you were told not to turn it on by others.
Okay.
As you can imagine, this would be difficult, right?
Mm-hmm.
And begs the question, how do you steer a parked car?
Not easy.
Now,
First place, it's not going anywhere.
exactly.
So you can't steer it. You can turn the wheel, but you're not steering anything because you ain't going nowhere, baby.
All right, good. So you're like way ahead on the podcast, but here we go. Totally fine. That's a good observation. Now, before you answer the question, and the question is, how do you steer a parked car? Before you answer the question, you're probably going to want to Google search it.
Sure.
Or maybe you'd rather check out some awesome productivity and life hack websites.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you already have a few bookmarked on your computer. Check those sites and see if anyone has posted advice. Or better yet, see if someone created an app to solve the problem.
An app.
Now, don't forget about the podcasts and the YouTube videos. With thousands upon thousands upon thousands of them out there, so you can find one to agree with your thinking. Chances are someone will say something useful, some unique insight you can use to crush this. Turn this piece of mind candy from jawbreaker to peanut butter cup. Need a minute? To search, Google, and check out productivity and life hack websites. To listen to podcasts, to watch YouTube videos. Actually, that sounds silly, doesn't it?
That's what we do, though.
Sounds silly because you probably need a whole lot longer than a minute.
Yeah.
A few hours or even a few days is a better bet, right?
It takes so long just to pick one that you like.
There you go. But you're working full time, aren't you?
Oh.
And you may also have a spouse, kids, parents, or something you need to do instead. So how about a month or a few months? Does that work for you?
Oh, no, we get that far. No, it's just never. Hey, if it doesn't happen in 2 weeks, it ain't happening.
How am I doing so far?
I'm listening.
Maybe, just maybe. But what if that's still not enough time, these few months? What happens if you need a lot longer to do all the necessary research? and carefully consider how to move forward.
Now you're turning my stomach. You can't take that long. You're never going to get there.
Carefully being the key word there. What happens if you need even longer to do the necessary research and carefully consider how to move forward?
Don't make any mistakes. Don't get in trouble.
Well, then you might never solve this one. In fact, from the sound of things, you'd probably never start working on solving it.
Yeah.
The parked car will remain exactly where it was, unmoved, despite your desire to steer it. What's the point of all this? In other words, why have I spent so much time today giving you an abstract brain teaser to solve? Relax. There's indeed a point, a method to my madness, and it's relevant to you and this podcast of finding motivated sellers to do creative real estate. To see the connection, think back to what the original instructions were. There was a parked car, and you had to steer it without turning it on. Others were telling you not to turn on the car and how dangerous it could be. Plus their ideas of how to steer the parked car when they themselves never have tried to steer a parked car. Or if they did, ended up failing. And now you're listening to their dramatizations of lack of how to do it and reason why they couldn't.
And you shouldn't. Bill, this is so real. I swear to God, I was at Home Depot 2 days ago. I ran into an old friend from the music business, the music store. And he's been at Home Depot for years, 10, 12 years. And I said, so why did you come over here? He said, I want to learn more about houses and maybe I'll renovate houses and do some real estate or something like that. And he shows me a picture of some project he did. He goes, I say, how do you find your houses? He goes, I don't do that. My wife tells me it's too dangerous, too risky. I said, what are you listening to her for? That was 2 days ago. The wife, who knows nothing, is telling him not to. She says, I thought I married a musician. What is all this stuff? That's too risky. We're not doing that. And he lets her bowl him over like that. Bill, he's still sitting in the parked car.
There you go.
The wife, too risky.
So what does dramatize mean? Dramatization.
Well, for the way we think about it is when somebody has some situation, and instead of like dealing with it, they get all this stuff in their head, telling them all kinds of stuff from God knows who, where's the depths of their subconscious, what other people have said, and they're just off like, rah, 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 can't do this, can't do that. Instead of like living and being successful. Blah, blah, blah.
Right. So my definition of dramatization is a exaggeration of emotions. So if you have fear and you're dramatizing fear, that means you're cranking it up, right?
Yeah, because it's okay. It's okay to be a little concerned about things. You got to think it through. You don't always know what's really going to happen, but you got to do something. You got to keep moving. So just keep moving. And courage is having fear and going ahead anyways. Dramatization is having fear and being crazy about it and not going anywhere.
Well, we talked about that a bunch of podcasts ago. I don't remember which number it was, but a bunch of podcasts where there's what's the difference between the novice and the pro, and I listed out all the different characteristics. And one of the characteristics was the pro knows there's obstacles and there's fear. He just confronts them. Yep. Where the novice he knows there's obstacles and fear, but he's trying to overcome them. See, the pro knows there's always going to be obstacles and fear, and he's just ready for them, and he's just going to overcome them. The novice is not going to overcome them. They're going to try to learn everything they can about it. Actually, I said that better. The novice is going to try to overcome them and try to get rid of the fear. They think there's some point where there's no fear.
Yeah, they're hoping there's not going to be any trouble. I heard a great quote the other day. Hubbard, the author of Dianetics, was saying something like, "What, you want to stay out of trouble? Why do you want to stay out of trouble for? We all get in trouble.
Right.
The biggest movers and shakers are always getting in trouble. The only guy not getting in trouble is the guy's not doing anything."
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen that. Oh, he's fine. He's not doing anything. Do something.
Right.
And if you get in trouble and get out of trouble, that means you're doing something. It means you're alive.
Right.
Enjoy it, or just survive it.
So others were telling you not to turn the car on and how dangerous it could be, plus their ideas of how to steer the parked car when they themselves have never tried to steer the parked car. Or if they did, ended up failing and are now dramatizing their lack of how to do it and reasons they couldn't. In the name of helping you.
Yeah, but the poison is what it does to you.
Mm-hmm. But are really trying to get you to fail like they did so they can prove themselves right because others failed too.
Yeah, that's huge, because if you succeed, now they're really a turd. Let's face it. They got no leg to stand on. They're going to be embarrassed. So
Right.
Not good for them, but let's have everybody fail. So that way everybody can feel good about themselves.
Well, they now get group agreement.
Yeah, they get the other losers and they form a club, huh?
Right. So I started writing a podcast. I think it's 2 podcasts together. I think it's 344 or something like that. And I'm actually talking about that in the podcast, in this podcast that we're going to do in a couple weeks.
Oh, 324.
What did I say? 324. Yeah. Thank you. I don't know what I said, but so one of the things that I was talking about is and then I'm going to talk about is there, like people will come in and they'll like try to use my materials and then say it doesn't work because they have a misunderstanding or they didn't apply it correctly. But the funny thing is I've done hundreds of deals and my students have done hundreds of deals with what I do.
That's right.
So how could you think that it was me?
No, I said this maybe a week or two ago, but there's many things out there, whether it's Herbalife or Amway or, things that people get involved in. They sell candles from their home. They have parties. Some people do really well. Most people don't. Any one of those, there's a few successful people and way more that just don't succeed. What's the difference? They didn't make it work. You have to make it work. Here's a shovel. Here's some wood. Here's some nails. Build a house. Or not.
Cool. All right. So we're really trying to get, so these people are trying to help you, but they really aren't, right?
No, they're trying to save you and protect you and save your aggravation. Yeah.
So what about this answer for parking, for the problem of steering a parked car?
Mm-hmm.
Go to the car, observe it, touch it, confront it, then turn the car on. Start the car so you can steer it. Just try it. After all, what do you have to lose? Especially if there is no risk of trying.
Yeah. You're in an empty school parking lot on Sunday afternoon, and they don't even have lampposts in it.
Right. Now, this solution probably seems obvious now. Stupid even. Considering how simplistic it is.
Yeah.
Yet look how complicated we made the solution. How we added layer after layer of research and preparation. To an extent that eventually, because overwhelmed, by the end, you probably didn't remember what you were researching anyways.
It's terrible.
I did a survey.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I do lots of surveys. Not lots. I do several a year. And I'm constantly looking for other people's ideas of the industry.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sure.
to the point where I even buy courses. I go to seminars, and because we one of the things that I'll usually try to task you at, it's like, what are you going to do? What am I going to do? And it's like, Peter, could you get people to have lunch and dinner with us?
Mm-hmm.
It's like one of the things that you'll try to do when we're in seminars, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why is because obviously I'm in my own head and I do my own stuff, but I'm always looking for somebody that's doing it better than me so I can get some ideas. But also by virtue of trying to find that person that's better, I got to weed through the shaft, right? Like they say with wheat,
Yeah.
You got to kind of like weed through all the wheat to find that one golden piece that you want,
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is we hear a lot of the failures first, a lot of the stories, right? We have to go through layer and layer and layer of stuff, right?
That's right.
So I gotta remember the reason why I was telling you the story. I lost my train of thought.
We were saying that you had surveys because you still learn things.
Oh, surveys, yeah.
Anytime you're at the top of a heap, it's really lonely there, and and it's
Yeah.
everybody needs somebody to talk to and have somebody's viewpoints. That's why there's masterminds. So
Yeah.
it's helpful to you. There's some top guys in the we go see them, we talk, we see what's going on.
So based on that, and based on my surveys, and based on my marketing, because we track all of our marketing, right? There are certain things that keep showing up.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that shows up very often is the demographics of who listen to us. Our group of people are dominantly males. There are females. It's like 30 to 70 or something like that. So there
Yeah.
are females, but it's dominantly males, right? Which if you listen to some of our podcasts and the way we talk, if you'll realize why we do some of our stuff, because I know who's listening. But here's the most interesting thing. The age group is like from age 45, actually more like 50, but age 45 to 65.
It's crazy.
Which is why we use Facebook, because that's where those people are.
Yeah.
Right? Now, not that other people aren't younger and they do it, but that's our dominant group.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the most shocking thing that I recently figured out in the last year or so is now I've known that for quite a while. What was shocking to me is, and I asked some bizarre question, I don't remember what it was, and I don't even know how I dreamed it up, but I'm just like, I'm curious about this. I figured out that a vast majority of people that try to learn real estate will go 5 to 6 years, some as long as 10 or 12 years, studying and researching so they can be safe and never really, they'll buy courses, they'll follow them, they'll listen. It's like HBO, right? You spend $20 a month for HBO or whatever it is now. Maybe it's more. I haven't had HBO in a long time. Maybe it's $40 a month. But you buy HBO for your television set and you just want entertainment. These people buy courses and listen to this podcast for entertainment. And going back to what I was saying before, they're looking for things that they can agree with. And they pick up these little nuggets. They'll pick up a nugget here, and they'll pick one up from Ron LeGrand. And they'll pick one up from Dan Merrill. They'll pick one up from Kiyosaki. They'll pick one, and they like bounce around, but they don't do deals. And then they come to me, and they'll do a coaching thing, and it's like, wow, I spent all this money, but they didn't stay focused.
Yeah,
there was a lack of focus, and they don't get the concept, which is why I beat it to death. They don't get the concept that it's them. They miss that concept.
Sometimes I used to wonder when I first started, I'm still, weighing something. How much of the success in this is, the habits and following the thing? And how much is it when you get someone on the phone, you actually push to make it happen? Because you were talking to some of us, of your mentees or students. Let's see, what are you holding up? Outliers. I have the book. It's just a totally different cover. Yeah. Now that's the one that talks about how many hours you have to put into something to be good at it, right? Or is that a different one?
No, it's a different one. So Outliers, I was showing on the camera. The name of the book is Outliers: The Story of Success by Malcolm Caldwell.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he's written a bunch of books. So let me just.
Is that the same as the Outliers that I have that talks about like with the timing and the effort you have to put in, thousands of hours to be good at tennis, or is that, because it's called Outliers?
No.
Do you know what that is?
Yeah, no, I've not heard of that.
Okay.
So here it is, Outliers. The very first thing here, right? Introduction, the very first paragraph is the definition of outlier. Something that is situated away from or classed differently than a main or related body. Number 2, a statistical observation that is markedly different in value from others of the sample.
Mm-hmm.
So an outlier is like an outcast. It's like it's over there.
It's the exception to the norm.
Right.
Like the Beatles, the book. It might be the same book, just talking different things. But how many Beatles are in the world? How many Michael Jordans are there? Tom Brady's? Maybe people have worked as long, maybe as hard, but maybe not. But there's something different about those boys and girls.
Right. So I know you keep saying that, but it's different. So it's not what you're saying. So
okay.
So it says in the descriptions, I understand successful people, we have come to focus far too much on their intelligence and ambition and personal traits. Instead, Malcolm Caldwell argues in Outliers, we should look at the world that surrounds the successful, their culture, their family, their generation, and idiosyncratic, experiences of their upbringing. Along the way, Caldwell reveals that the Beatles and Bill Gates were what they have in common. The reason you never heard of the smartest man in the world, why almost no star hockey players are born in the fall. and why, when it comes to plane crashes, where the pilots are born matters as much as how well they were trained.
That's crazy.
The lives of outliers, people whose achievement fall outside normal experiences, follow a peculiar and unexpected logic. And in uncovering the logic, Caldwell presents fascinating and provocative blueprint for making the most of human potential. So the reason why I stop in the middle of this podcast and read that to you is because your environment has a lot to do with your success.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I know I used to go to because we live in Connecticut, I used to go up to Newport, Rhode Island, to the mansions.
Right.
And I would go. It's been a while, but I used to go every year, 2-3 times a year, and I would go through the same mansions and I would read everything. And one thing that I recognized with all the mansions was those wealthy people actually had an environment where they taught their children.
Right.
Just by doing, it was their habits. I mean, look, Queen Elizabeth just died, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, look at the people, look at her son and the way they were brought up. It's like they would never think of like leaving the regime, although one of the grandkids did. But the point is that there's a certain way to do things. So they're bringing up. So I know I have done this with my children. It's like, my kids were 8 or 9 years old, and I bought the game Cash Flow Quadrant from Kiyosaki. It was like $100 at the time. It was a lot of money.
Mm.
And I made them play it for like 2 months, like once or twice a week, to the point where they wouldn't come, because we were divorced and they lived with their mom. They wouldn't come to my house. But my kids are now 30 years old or thereabouts. And they know the difference between an asset and liability. And I watch how they spend their money. And it's incredible how much that game stuck, and they don't even know it.
Yeah.
Both of them have money in the bank. Both of them, I mean, my older one has 2 kids and she's got some credit cards and stuff like that, but mostly student debt. But it's incredible to watch how they spend their money, and it's because of their environment. Mm-hmm. So I stop here because of this dramatization of this story that I tell you. And it's like what people tell you and what you believe and who are around you and how they influence you is a big factor of, it's kind of like saying to the fish, hey, the water you're in is dirty. And the fish will say, what water? What are you talking about? Because he's immersed in it and doesn't see it. Right. So many of the people that we're listening to now are that way. They're immersed in it and they don't see it. They don't get their disagreement with rich people, or their disagreement with money, or their disagreement with having something, or their disagreement with Republicans or Democrats, right? Their disagreement, like all these things that they have disagreements with, that they think have nothing to do with real estate, but have everything to do with real estate. Because it's their makeup. It's what is it. So it's like, the non-conscious mind, not the unconscious. The unconscious mind has pain in it and things that your analytical mind don't want. Mm-hmm. Right. So your analytical mind can't be wrong. It has to be right. And when it's not, it puts it in the unconscious mind. Right. Sure. I'm talking about the non-conscious mind. I'm talking about the person that goes through their days and has automaticity, and they just do this at 8 o'clock, and they do this at 10 o'clock, and they do this at 12 o'clock. And why do they do it? Well, that's just because that's what you need to do. It's like it's built in.
They're an automatic.
Yeah. And they're not observing. They don't see things. They're not in present time. And that's my little soapbox. Let's keep moving here. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those things. And why am I talking about those on a podcast about how to get motivated sellers? Because getting motivated sellers has nothing to do with the sellers. I could tell you, I've trained salespeople. When I worked for I worked for a company in California that consulted automotive shops. Yeah. So I was their top sales guy. I ran the what they call the tours division. In other words, we did 40 seminars a year, so 40 weeks a year I was going. Mm-hmm. And I ran the speakers and the crews, and I ran logistics, and I ran all that stuff, right? So there was a bright idea that they bring me into the phone room and help people in the phone room with my sales skills. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can't even explain what I learned in that phone room.
And what do people do on the phone? Getting people to come to these things?
Yes, selling them the $400 weekend.
Yeah.
And Peter, you will not believe me, because most don't, and most don't even understand the words I'm about to say. But I'm going to tell you, I would be in the phone room with the manager, and the difference between the guy that made, or the girl that made all the money, and the guy that was brand new and made no money, was intention. The girl would pick the phone up and she's like, I'm going to make a sale. And people would answer her call, people would talk to her, and people would buy from her. Mm-hmm. It was not her skill. It was her intention of what she was going to get. Mm-hmm. And the guy that was new had lower intention because he had more concern about, what do I say? How do I say it in this script?
Right.
So when you get rookie creative real estate people, that's all that's all that it's out. What's out is their intention. They're not intending to call somebody and close them on a deal. They're intending to do a good job with the script. They're intending to dazzle somebody. They're intending to entertain somebody. They're intending not to be embarrassed. Their intention is not to be embarrassed or sound like an amateur. Their intention is wrong. Their intention is not to call and help somebody. Their intention is not to be embarrassed or not to be. It's all about them. It's not about the other.
That became painfully obvious just before you said that. I almost said it, but absolutely.
Right. So that's why my saying that I made many, many podcasts ago is the difference is don't be interesting, be interested. Right. So they're trying to be interesting. They're trying to get people to like them, and they're trying to get people to like, and they think they're going to make a sale. Their intention is to get people to like them because they think that's what's going to get a deal. Instead of being interested in the seller, the intention is how can I help this seller, truly help this seller? Their intention is all.
Yeah, I noticed one other thing recently watching you. You guide it a lot. You don't let them make the decisions. You make the decisions. It hit me really good when you were talking to some guy in his house, and he said, "All right, well, why don't you go and send me an offer Monday and I'll look at it." And you looked at him, you said, "No, I'm buying the house today. Now that I'm here." And I went, "That's the way you do it." I would have said, "Okay, sure."
And I don't remember it, but I probably followed up with, "What don't you understand? Why are you trying to get rid of me?" Is probably what would be the, it's kind of like in the used car lot, we used to say, I need to call my wife. You need to call your wife for what? Is it the price of the car? Is it the color? Is it the payment? Is it the the finances? What part do you need help from your wife?
Yep.
And it would disabuse the objection and either get on the phone with the wife and let him call or whatever. I mean, that's used car sales stuff is different because it's pressure, right? I don't believe in that here, but the point is that when you say that I guide the conversation or I control the conversation, I do it with questions. I'm not dominant. I'm not hard. I just do it with questions because I truly want to understand. I'm very inquisitive about people.
Right. But it's the best way to do it.
Too inquisitive. I'll meet somebody in the grocery store and say, "Hey, how much did you make last year?" I mean, I'm that kind of guy. You know what I mean? If the conversation rolls that way.
No, the worst thing is you start talking to children and people start getting frightened.
Oh, my kids. Yeah, my kids.
Right. No, but you're like a big Santa Claus teddy bear. It's fine.
All right. So this little scenario I'm talking about eventually becomes overwhelming. And by the end, you probably don't remember what you started. And that's the lesson for today, right? Given the rise of anti-motivators teaching snowflake feel-good stuff,
don't hold back, Bill.
It's tough love that you need. It's tough love that you need. Do it regardless of how you feel. So I have a question. I have a quiz for our listeners.
Okay.
And this quiz is for yourself and those that are around you. Here's the question. What would you, or what would they, depending on which way you're doing it, rather have? An intention for comfort or an intention for accomplishment? So what would you rather have? Would you rather have comfort or accomplishment? What would your wife or husband rather have? An intention or want comfort or accomplishment? And I promise you will start to see your world in front of your face. Like I have relatives, and it took me 50 years to figure this out, 55 years to figure this out. Because I have relatives. I have a brother-in-law that his intention is comfort. He works hard 5 days a week, but oh my goodness, he comes home at 6 o'clock at night. By 7 minutes after 6, he wants his dinner on the table. He wants to be eating. And by 6:30, he's in the chair, on his phone, on the internet, watching TV. Or going out to a bar, or going to a party or doing something that has everything to do with comfort. He worked hard. He deserves it.
Yep.
And then you get me on the other hand, and I'm all about accomplishment. I mean, I've ruined my life at points. I've ruined relationships at points because I want the accomplishment. And I plow everything down till I get it. And I'm the opposite for accomplishment. Because I'm the bull in the china shop when it comes to accomplishment. Right?
Yes, sir.
So ask yourself that. Do that survey with you and yourself. Or you and your life, I mean.
Mm-hmm. And the people around you.
And the people around you. So back to, and I wasn't expecting to be this late into the show to get here, but back to how do creative real estate rookies easily find motivated sellers to do a deal competently? The big reveal is you have enough content already. You already know enough. Enough that can at least get you minimally, just to start. The saying is this: take your first step. The one that's supposedly how a journey of 1,000 miles begins is your first step. Because I can tell you right now, what you think is going to happen isn't going to happen.
Yeah. You can prepare, but surprise. There's a quote. Somebody said it was Napoleon. I don't think it is, but it was something like, don't wait to have everything you need to get things moving along. Start where you are with what you know and what you have, and just start moving forward. Just take what you got and go.
Yeah, we talk about be, do, have all the time, right? We just talked about that recently. And I know a lot of people, especially engineers, they need to have before they can do. And that's not, it's be, do, have. It's not be, have, do.
Nope.
There was a book that came out. What was it? Ready, Aim, Fire. Was Ready, Fire, Aim.
It was really kind of backwards, right?
Yeah.
Ready, fire, aim.
Right. So it's like, that's what it's like for me. Engineers are like that. It's not be, do, have. It's be, have, do. It's backwards. You don't need to have that.
I mean, you need a shovel if you got to dig a hole, but that's just a tool.
Yeah.
You start digging the hole, and then you have a foundation, and then you can build a house. You just start.
Yep. All right. So now let's connect the dots and give the steps to getting started.
Okay.
So step number 1, go to flippinghousesforrookies.com, free stuff. And you should be writing this down. This is the checklist. I think it's 10 steps.
And is this what you have in the description?
This is the checklist.
Yeah, good.
So go to flippinghousesforrookies.com, go to free stuff, and download the lease option explained document. It's 5 pages. Download it. I prefer you print it. Number 2, handwrite this document at least 10 times. Now, I know that right now we just lost half of our 95% of our listeners because they won't do this. They won't do this, and then they'll call and do a one-on-one with me and complain about how their life is all, and they can't do it.
Yep.
If you can't do this, then you're not, I don't know what to say. I'm going to explain this to you in a minute. So you're going to go to Flipping Houses for Rookies, free stuff, download the lease option explained document, handwrite this document 10 times. So get a yellow notepad. Go to Walmart for about $3. You can get a package of yellow legal notebook pads, right? And you start from the beginning and you write it, the 5 pages. And then put that aside and you do it again. Now, I prefer you do it 10 times, but if you don't do it at least 3 to 5 times, you're wasting your time.
Yep.
Number 3, the same document. Read it into your smartphone and record yourself reading it. so you have an MP3 file on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, listen to this recording 15 to 20 times. So between writing it 10 times and listening to it 20 times, you'll sort of like brainwash yourself.
Maybe call it brain training.
Brain train. There you go. Now,
Just because brainwash has negative connotations.
Yeah.
Brain train.
So here is when people have done this, what they tell me. Here's what they tell me, okay, when they do this.
Mm-hmm.
Bill, I can't believe it. I was on the phone with somebody and it just came out of my mouth.
Yeah,
I didn't even know I knew that. I didn't even know I knew that. It just came out of my mouth. I answered it like, oh my God, I can't. And they'll go on for 5 minutes, 10 minutes telling me, I can't believe I knew that. I can't believe, oh my God, it was so amazing. It was, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. That's what I hear.
Bill, this is the way that athletes and musicians train. I was working with a student yesterday. I told him, go home and play the scale. Play it like 10 times, 20 times. My friend played scales 5 hours a day in music school, 5 hours a day, repetitive. So athletes, musicians, that's how you get good like that.
Right.
But how do you do that with theoretical information is a question, because this is not physical.
Right.
So what you said is how you do information so it becomes part of you. That's huge. It's a big deal.
So what you're saying there is it becomes part of you. So it becomes like a muscle reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So like I mean, if you're new here and you've not heard this before, but I smoke cigars, obviously. And Tabucky Jones, who is a Patriots NFL player, he won the Super Bowl. He's got the ring, all that stuff. When I first met him, I was intrigued. Now I'm not so intrigued. He's just a regular guy, right? But we would talk about this at the cigar shop, especially late at night, like what it takes. I mean, this guy came from the ghetto in New Britain, Connecticut, and became a superstar.
Yeah.
Now, I think he was a tight end. I don't know enough about football to know what the positions are. I watch it with them all the time, but I don't, for some reason, I got a mental block on sports. Right? I can't remember their name. But he was really good. That's all it was what you just said. And because I said to him, one of my questions, it started out like this. It was like, Buck, we call him Buck. Tabucky, we call him Buck, right? So, Buck, what is it like when you're like on that field and there's 10,000 or 50,000 fans screaming and yelling? You know what he said?
What?
I don't know. So what do you mean you never know? He says, I never heard him. What the hell does that mean? Oh, adrenaline, man. He says, your adrenaline is pumping. I said, so then another question I ask him is, what's it like when somebody tackles you? You got like 2 tons of, like, each one of these guys weigh like 300 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So you got like, thousands of pounds laying on top of you. He goes, I don't know. What do you mean? Adrenaline.
Mm.
Says when you get hurt and when you finish a football game, it takes a day or 2 for your adrenaline to wear off before you actually feel the pain.
It's crazy.
But I ask him the most important question. How do you know when to do the play? Like, do you think about it? Like, how do you know you need, so the quarterback tells you the play. How do you know when to snap and when to run? And these football players and many other athletes, they do miraculous things. Like out of the blue, they'll catch a ball in their left hand, not like how they practice that. And that's what he said. We practice it so much that you don't think about it. It just becomes natural response.
Everybody's experienced that. If they think back when they're first trying to drive the car and they push the brake way too hard, they push the fuel way too soft or way too hard, and now I don't even think about it.
Yep.
It's so natural. I was thinking the other day, I'm whipping around the corner at 40 miles an hour. Another car's whipping around the other direction, and we're like 3 feet apart on a curve.
Yep.
Not thinking to think of it, just zoom, and nobody kills each other.
Yep.
And said, how do we just do that? I'm looked down, I'm following the little line on the street.
Yep.
We've drilled the hell out of that to be able to do that.
Yep. All right, good. So hopefully we hammered that point in.
Mm-hmm.
Step number 5, go to Facebook as I call it, flake book, or sometimes I call it two-face book.
How about fake book?
Fake book, that's another one. So go on Facebook Marketplace and look for the rental section. Or go on Zillow. Zillow's another way. Now, there's a difference between the two of them because Facebook is for the little bit more introverted, feared person because there's no phone number there and you have to message them.
Okay.
When you go on to Zillow, there's a phone number there and you can call them. So you pick which platform you want to know about, right? Now, here's the trick. Like starting the car. Don't look at the houses. You don't care about the houses. They're just a way to find the owners to talk to and make an offer to. Which brings me to number 6. You message. What's happening?
No, I'm just fixing my cord here. I'm okay.
So number 6, messenger 25 sellers a day. Now, I tease about this. You could do this while you're taking a crap every day. Now, there's no reason why you can't do this because you're sitting on the toilet doing nothing anyways.
Oh, skip one TV show at night. Skip one.
So here's what you're going to do. You're going to type this sentence once, and then you're going to copy and paste it in the other 24 messages. Here's the sentence. Would you rent for a year or two and then sell to me? Would you rent for a year or two and then sell to me? By texting, it's less confront, like I said, for those introverted people and those people that can't confront somebody and don't want to talk to people, you can message them. Okay? By messaging them, you're going to build your confidence because now, by the time you ask them for their phone number and want to call them, you have built some rapport and you're going to realize they're not so dangerous. Right? Because somebody that's introverted and somebody that has trouble with confronting people, technically it's the manifestation of thinking that they live in a dangerous environment and that other person's going to hurt them.
Yeah.
So by messaging them or by texting them, it's going to be less dangerous for them to call them and get their feelings hurt. Okay?
Yeah, you're only calling the people that responded somewhat favorably. So they're inviting you in, so it's okay. You're not. No. Well,
you are correct, but on Facebook there's no phone number, so they have to give you their phone number.
No, but I'm saying the ones you text. If you don't want to call,
yeah,
start with the texting.
Well, yeah, you can't call because there's no phone number. So yes, you are correct. So the ones that want to talk to you or want to do a deal with you will give you a phone number. Now on Zillow, it's a little bit different because you have for sale by owners and you can get phone numbers, you can call them and leave messages. Okay?
Right. But if you're a chicken, you can still text them first. And then, right. If somebody says yes, then talk to them. So you're not bothering them.
Right. Number 7, the ones that seem interested, you get their phone number and you call them. Number 8. Now don't get nervous here is what information you need to lead the call with. So you don't have to worry about a script. You don't have to worry about anything, which by the way, if you have rented an apartment or rented a house to live before, you know about 80 or 85% of what you need to do. But all you need to know is you need to leave the call with these 4 pieces of information. What's their best price? Number 1. Number 2, are they willing to take monthly payments? And if so, how much? Number 3, if they don't take monthly payments, how much of a discount will they give you? You'll need at least 30% discount to give them all cash on a pretty house. So if they don't give you at least a 30% discount for all cash, you don't have a deal. Okay. Number 4, what's their longest duration? That they will wait and get paid in full. So how long could you rent for? How long will you give payments on owner financing for? Whatever you decide. And then, of course, the last one is if they bring up deposit, if they bring it up, like how much of a deposit they want, you can give them, you ask them what's the lowest amount you can use.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. These 4 pieces of information, you just ask those questions. What's the best selling price you can give me? And you just go through, you can rewind this tape and you can listen to it, right? Or this recording. But here's the interesting thing, Peter, that makes it very easy.
Yeah.
If you did what I told you to do with the lease option explain document, you will be able to naturally and instinctively, like Tabucky Jones on the football field, just do the play. Because you'll have memorized, or not memorized, but you'll have brainwashed or induced or implanted, whatever word you want, the questions and the answers that they're going to ask. Because we've already done the research for you. We already know what questions they're going to ask. That's why they're on the
it's always the same ones. It's not like if it's random, you don't have to answer it because it's nothing to do with anything. The real questions are the real ones.
Right. Number 9, most important out of all, record yourself talking to these sellers. Then listen back. Take notes on where you need help. Use the lease option explain document to check yourself. Did you answer the questions correctly? Use that document to qualify or do a qualification check on whether you did it correct or not. Right? Number 10, go to flippinghousesforrookies.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page, all the way down to the bottom of the page. And it's called, I think it's called Creative Real Estate 101. Okay. When you register there, there's a whole platform that's worth several $100s. It's a whole membership worth several $100s, right? That will show you. Here it is. Here it's Creative Real Estate Deal Making 101. The one with the pretty blonde holding up all the money to the left of it. Go in there and look at the type of offer you made. So if you made a slot deal offer, or if you made just go in there because the training is there. But don't go watch the training first. Do it after you started talking to sellers, because now what's going to happen is you're going to remember the seller you spoke to, and it's going to mean more to you, and you're going to remember it because now you have a real incident or a real situation that you're applying the training to. In other words, our human minds work with mental image pictures. Yep. The reason why we operate is because of mental image pictures. I mean, we've talked about this. You brought it up earlier. You know, Maxwell Smart's. Maxwell. Oh my God, I forgot his name. Anyways, Psycho-Cybernetics is the book. Or Hubbard wrote Dianetics. Those are 2 good books on mental image pictures and how the mind works. Right? Maxwell Marks. I forgot his name.
Marks.
Yeah, I forgot his name. Anyway,
well, you said Maxwell Smart. That was the comedian on TV.
It's because I just watched that movie over the weekend. Yeah.
Maybe Maxwell Marks.
Yeah, I don't know.
I forget too. I never know that one. I don't know that book. I know the other one.
So here's the point. If you're going to put a mental image picture in your memory with experience, why not give it true data instead of false data? So what I'm saying is if you're doing it backwards, where you're trying to learn all the data first and then go use it, it's backwards because you're over studying. You're studying for scenarios that probably won't happen, but you think they're going to happen.
Yeah.
right? Where if you just download the lease option explained and you do what I just talked about, and then you make a few phone calls and record them, now what you do is you go into the Creative Real Estate 101 course and you see how I do it and you match it up against what the seller said. And now you'll actually get the right training for the right situation, the right scenario. Because now you actually have something that you can remember, which is the phone call with that seller. It's
Yeah.
easier to do training. It's like if I had a car that didn't start when I went to mechanic school, I'm going to think, what should I have done when that car didn't start before?
Yeah, when that information comes up, it'll jump out at you.
Right.
So when you look at the deal making 101 with that person in mind, the useful information will jump out, and the other stuff will just sit there because you don't need it right now. It's too much.
Right.
Just the part you need, you grab it and you can use it.
So do this checklist of 10. Do this several times within a 30-day period. I prefer 3 to 5 times. And you'll need to do it at least 3 to 5 times, like I said, to get unnervous about doing it. It only takes like 5 times to get unnervous.
Mm-hmm.
Some longer. But most it's 3 to 5 times.
Yeah.
Lastly, concurrently, we're having our best luck with expired listings lately. So once you feel you have a little confidence, go for those leads, the expired listings.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we're in September of 2022. So if you're listening to this podcast a year later, then just realize that at this time period in time, expired listings are the best. Reason why is because we're on the heels of COVID, and the prices were elevated so much, and sellers were so cocky, they're getting humbled now. Mm-hmm. Because days on market, meaning the amount of time that it takes when you put a house on the market to getting a deal, has extended greatly, and sellers are not as cocky as they were 6 months ago.
Yep.
Right. So, just for a little plug here, we just started a new software company. It's called Creative REI Reply. And it does all this stuff for you if you want to jump in and pay a few bucks to get going. It has all the training in there. But most importantly, with your membership, no extra cost, we actually load right now for sale by owners, for rent by owners, and expired listings into your system. We hook them to the campaigns that we use. So we put our campaigns in your account, and we take the leads and hook them to our campaigns. So when you sign up for Creative REI Reply, what happens is you do an onboarding call with one of our support people. That's usually about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, and get everything hooked up. And then every day you get leads coming into your system that you can text, do an opening call, and do a closing call. It's all automated. All the training is in there. All the scripts are in there. All the paperwork is in there. Everything you need to be a creative real estate investor is in there, which is why we call it a creative real estate system in a box. Okay? So if you want to know more about that, you can send me a support ticket. You can go to Creative Real Estate, Creative REI Reply. I'm not sure how much you'll find on the internet because it is a brand new company. We have some stuff there, but just if you can't find it, just either go into the WhatsApp group, Let's Talk Real Estate, or go to support and send me an email, and a support ticket, and I'll get you a link, right? And it's done that way because I have spent, as you know, Peter, 20 years trying to train people and trying to train acquisition managers. And I've decided that this is my full ditch effort to make it work. Because I know we're 4 minutes over, but I'm going to run this imagination through your mind right now. Imagine you get involved with Creative REI Reply and you get leads every day. You go in and text a few. And the next thing you know, you're on the phone with somebody. Now, this is not in Creative REI Replay right now, but it will be very soon because we have it being developed. It's already done. We're just waiting for it to get the finishing touches put on it. You click on a button called the offer calculator. You put in 6 or 8 numbers, if that much. You push the button, and on the right side of the screen, it has all my 7 deals: the slot deal, the option deal, the rent to own, the getting the deed, rehab retail, wholesale, and owner finance. Has all those deals on the right, and it does a red, yellow, or green light on each one of the deals, so you know which deals you can make an offer on. So if you decide you want to make an offer on a getting the deed deal or a subject to deal, you click on the button. Another screen opens. On the left side is the map. On the right side are all the questions you need to ask to make sure you have that deal explained to the seller correctly. You then push another button, and when they say yes, and it automatically generates the memorandum for them to sign.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You push another button, and it sends it to them, and they give you an e-signature. Now that you have the memorandum, you go into the training section, and whatever type of deal, if it's a getting the deed deal, you go to the getting the deed section, and you download the checklist, and you do the deal. Now, I don't know about you, Peter, but I don't think the only way I could do it is to do the deals for you. I don't know how.
I've been watching you and helping with some of it, the checklist and just what's needed, and talking to people. And we found over and over they need a workshop. They need tell me what you do, because when you learn this stuff, it's like get a lawyer, get an accountant, open an account, get an LLC, blah, 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 all this stuff. And like, wait a minute, and it's just too confusing. But checklists like this are incredible. Just because otherwise you just worry about what you should do instead of just do 1, then just do 2, then just do 3.
I'm going to drop my last bombshell right now, and I know it because we're 7 minutes after. I know I should.
Okay.
And I'm going to drop the last bombshell. And I've been I talked about this in the meetup last night, and I've talked about this in other places.
Yeah.
Imagine this. Ready?
Ready.
You're not sure about a deal. You're too scared. You're too nervous. You're not sure about a deal.
Mm-hmm.
You get the seller to sign a 30-day option agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Just an option agreement. You bring the using Creative REI Replay, you can actually sell the house all automated. We have all the campaigns in there, so you can sell the house all automated. Right?
Yeah.
You actually market the house to the public in that area. You got a 30-day option agreement to go find a buyer. So what you're going to do, if you're nervous about a deal, you're going to bring it to the market. You're going to find out how popular it is with the market, like how many people respond. And you're going to find out what they're willing to pay, how much of a deposit they have, and how much of a payment they could make. You're going to do like a big fat survey on that property before you buy it.
Mm-hmm.
If you actually decide that there's a lot of interest, you might even find your buyer or 2 or 3 of them. You call your seller up and say, okay, I'm ready to go.
So you can test it out first. Mm-hmm. Each deal. You don't have to totally commit.
You can test drive the house.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm going to leave off, because now we're at 8 minutes after the hour. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for all your support. Make sure you leave us a review. Make sure you subscribe to us. If you have any questions, go to flippinghousesforrookies.com, hit the support ticket, and don't forget to go into WhatsApp Messenger and join the Let's Talk Real Estate group so that you can be part of our conversation now. All right? Over and out. Next week, I got some podcast number 323. I got some really cool stuff for you. So hang on. Good day.